Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 19th episode of Making a Game in Corona SDK. Today might be a little bit shorter and a little bit different because today is the day of the Global Game Jam. So I will be participating in the Global Game Jam, so I'm going to be joining a group and hopefully making a game all weekend. I may or may not stream some of that. We'll see. It kind of depends on where I'm at and how I'm working, etc., etc. Might be a little bit difficult, but I think there will be plenty of other people out there doing it, and you should be making your own game. So go check out globalgamejam.org and go make a game. Today we are continuing where we left off. Now, if you're looking at this, you might be like, hey, that is not where we left off. Well, that's because I was doing a little test to find out, not find out, but remember the process for loading images and parsing graphics sheets. So this is a little preview of what's to come, but that is not what we're going to be working on today. Today we're going to continue where we left off. And I wanted to start by telling you about something that I totally noticed last time I was working on this. If you go to your project sandbox, I think it's a sandbox, yeah. Here we go, sandbox. This is the, here's all the files for your game. So we've been saving levels by clicking here and saving different levels. And we've been using those levels. For instance, if I'd restart this, hey look, there's a level already loaded. What level is that? Well, that's the init level. The problem I realized is that if you just went and downloaded this code and started running this, it would fail. It would fail because you don't have init code. Your code, your initial documents looks like, just lost it. Your initial documents is going to look like this. There's nothing in it. So if we refresh this, now it works and it creates this game data. Now, why did that work? That it worked because I actually went and made a bunch of code changes outside of the stream. I'm sorry. I try not to do that because I want you to see everything. But I did want it to be that if you just went and downloaded this code off of GitHub, which you can... I really need to set a link from TylerMakes.com to my GitHub. But if you go there, if that's where you're watching this, and you go to YouTube, or if you already started on YouTube, every video has a link to... Whoop, let's stop playing that.
Yeah, the 18th episode.
So every episode has a link to the GitHub where you can get all the code. And if we go check out the last check-in, let's actually just go look at commits. I went and made some changes. Not a lot of changes, but important changes. So I'm going to start by going through this and explaining what you need to do to make the game work when it just starts up. And I actually realized that there is a bug. If you don't click save, it's going to explode here. I think that if you start it up and you hit save... Oh, that's right, you can't save. And there's a reason you can't save, and that's a bug. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go over this. Then we're going to look at fixing that bug so that you can save it. And then we're also going to fix the bug where if you go here and you don't have a level, we don't want it to break. So that's kind of what our focus is going to be today. So let me take you through what I did. So there's two places that we changed. One was bulb builder, and one was we added this basic init file. So let's start by taking a look at what I did with bulb builder, and it's under hack to load init map. So we just jump to that. Okay, so what's happening? Oh, a good way to see this is to see our saving container. Let's see. Now I'm just trying to remember the pieces. No, it's not. It's not quite in here. So what happens is we're gonna load the file. Let's take a look at this. So we're gonna load bulb builder scene. That's gonna be the builder scene here, which is just gonna create a bulb builder. And if we go look at bulb builder, oh, that's right. It calls create. So that's what gets us to here. So when we call create, this is when we first start our builder. And when we click create, we load data from the savings container. Now, if you look at what the old code looked like, it was just, hey, load data, load this file init. Now, what we added here is these 3 lines that if it's a failure, now, what is failure? If you remember, which I don't expect you to after 19 episodes, when you load a file, just any old file, it's a little different than this. So, like, let me just show you this real quick. We have save and load, which load our game data, which is the basis of our entire game. And they do the thing that what we want to do right now, which is that if this failed for some reason, like, hey, look, we failed because there's no file or directory, then we actually want to do game settings get data and encode it, and then we'll return that as the contents. So just to see this, so here's the game data. We're going to load it. That's is opening it for reading. Contents is the contents of it. This reads all the contents. If for some reason this file handler failed to open, then we're going to see if the reason was that there was no such file or directory. That's the most, that's the only reason you're really going to get. If there's some kind of corruption error, you're going to have problems. So we're just worried about this one. In that case, we encode this data as the contents. So whatever this game settings get game data is. So if you look at game settings, get game data, it just returns the most basic thing, which is map names with self.map names. So it gets that and encodes it in JSON. It goes back and decodes it from JSON, and then does setup from data. Now this is kind of silly because if you look at it, map names is already self-map names, and when we set up from data, we just restore it. However, what this does is it allows this chunk to basically set up contents so that this code runs the same no matter what. So whether this contents is actually loaded from a file or if it's just our initial bunch that we started with, it's going to work. And then later we're going to go and save it, and we're going to save over that so that the next time that we load it, it is able to just get the contents directly and we don't do any of this. So now we have to look at a generic file. Now we should probably change this eventually to not even use these save and load and to actually just use the generic one. There really is no need for the very specific game data one. It's a relic of when I used to do just the game data and I would have no other files saved. But now we have map files, and we might eventually have other files that we're saving. So we have these generic ones. So the problem is if you fail to load a file with a generic file, you can't go and say, hey, get me the contents of this thing. Instead, what we do is we pass back a failure, which is actually interesting to me because I just realized we could pass in default, we could put default data, and maybe that's a good refactor that you might want to do. But for now, we're not going to do that. We're going to do it the way that I've had it, which is that we return a failure. So let's go back over here if we're trying to load a file and it fails to load here because the file handler can't open, then it's a failure. And instead of using the loaded data, we're going to use basic init data. And then we're going to load the map from that. Now, here comes the tricky part. What is basic init data? Well, basic init data comes from this basic init file. Now, we're just requiring it here, so it's just including it. And what is it including? So we're going to go take a look at basic init file. Now, if you remember or have been looking at our maps at all, this might look sort of familiar. Ooh, it's going to open with a program I do not want it to open with. So here's what that file looks like. Let me just close this real quick. Okay, so this is what our map, our first init map, looks like. This is JSON. Now, you might be looking at this and notice that it's different. For one, it's on one line, which actually, I guess we could word wrap this. Because yeah, you want to do that in Sublime. You don't want to actually do it in the file because that'll change the parsing and could be bad. But here you go. So if we look at this, you know, the file name is init, file name is init. Let me actually, let's see if there's JSON. That's annoying. Let's see if we called it Lua, even though it's not actually Lua. Well, that's, I guess neither one is actually very good. Let's see if we did JavaScript. No, I'm just trying to get these symbols to be a little more visible, but that's fine, whatever. We're gonna word wrap this real quick. Okay, so anyway, you can see file name is file name, init is init. We have the layers. Map name is in here somewhere. I think it actually just got reordered, which can happen because the order doesn't matter. But anyway, if you're looking at this, you can see that these are pretty similar. So the question is then why are they different? So for starters, let's just look at this. All this is it's a variable name and it's an object that uses Lua's object notation to build an object. And the result is that we just get that and we say, hey, that's our data, go load map from data. Now, so the big question is why does it not look like this? Well, this is JSON syntax. And Lua's object notation syntax is very similar to JSON, but it's not the same. Some of the key things are that these parameters here, each of these in JSON, you can actually, I believe, quotes are not necessary. It kind of depends on your, it might be that the actual JSON syntax doesn't require them for the variable names. It might be just that different interpreters allow you or don't allow you to use it. But regardless, in this case, when we save out our encoded JSON, it has quotes around the variable. Second thing is that these colons are equals signs in Lua. Then the third thing is that an array in JSON is indicated by the square bracket. And then objects are the curvy brace. In Lua, they're both the curly brace. So it's a little bit harder, as you can see here, to tell, hey, do I have a bunch of objects or do I have an array of objects and some objects nested in an array, etc. So what I had to do is I had to take this entire file, make a new file, and then had to do a series of things like this. For instance, we needed to take off the quotes. Oh, this is wide. I'm going to do this. Let's make this really big so you can see it nice and small. Okay, so The fact that it's on one line, totally fine, doesn't matter. But here's where the problems lie. First, we have things like file name. This, we need to get rid of the quotes. Now, we're going to do a lot of find and replace to get rid of all these very quickly and easily. But things that you need to realize is that we can't just get rid of all the quotes, because this, init, this actually needs to be in quotes, because this is the value, and it's a string. Just like this dirt is a value, and it's a string. However, tile name is the name of the variable and should not have quotes. So what I did is I went to find and replace and took things like layers. There's only one version of layers, which I know, so I just did that. But I went through here and painstakingly put in, say, tile name, and then change that to tile name, and then replace all. And you let it chug for a little bit because there's a million occurrences of that. If you do Apple Shift or Command Shift F, you can bring up find and replace. Actually, I think it's Alt Shift F. No, that's not what I want. No. Oh, I hate one. Control Shift F? No. What is it? Command Shift F is replacing files. We just want replace, which is Alt Command F. Is that right? Yeah, Alt Command F. There you go. Okay, so then we had to do the next thing, which is custom data. And replace all those with just custom data. And hey, there we go. We replaced them all. And I had to do that for all of our different variable types. And if you tried to load this, Lua would blow up and it would give you a vague notion of where there was a problem. But for the most part, this worked out fine. And then I had to Alt Command F, go through and change our square brackets to curly braces. We replaced all like that. Command Alt F, and then do the other one. Go and replace them all. And then the last thing that we had to do was go and take all of our colons and turn them into equal signs. Chug, chug, chug. So a lot of colons in this. Takes a little while. Okay, so now our files actually should look basically identical. I think there was some reason the map name's not there, but I went and added it. I'm not entirely sure that it matters. But anyway, now we have it. Now we have our full object. So I just took that. You should see that should be pretty much the same. I just took that into here, set this variable to it, and then save that as basic init file. So that is basically how we can take one of our saved data files that's in JSON and then convert it to Lua's object notation so that we can actually use it. So there we go. That's all we had to do. So basically, if you are trying to load a file and it doesn't exist, then hey, go use this basic init data, and that will make everything work. Now, the problem I ran into after that is that we cannot save it. Now, why can't we save it? Well, let's find out. I believe it has something to do with the game data. Let's see. Oh yes, it does have to do with game data. So now if you go and look at our game data, all our game data has in it is map names to tell us what maps we have. However, if we go look at our current project sandbox here, it has no map names. Now, I think that has something to do with why the save dialog will not show up. Let's see. So this is our saving action. Nope, that's the file name. We want to look for the pop-up. Select tool save, clear pop-up, file name pop-up, bulb file name pop-up. I think it might be in there. Something went wrong. We create it. Add map file list. So there's no files here, but there is a map names thing. So I don't know why exactly that does not work. Trying to remember. So I did look at this before, but hey, now you're getting that entire experience where I was then confused as to why our save dialog does not show up. And are we not getting any information here? No, that's a simulator console, does not. Interesting. I'm gonna close this real quick and reload it because I want our console. Okay, so here we go. Here's our console. And we click save, and nothing shows up. Let me see something. So one thing that I know that we want to do is that the init file is eventually going to work. Oh, wait. I think what we want to do is load. No? Yeah, we can't load because there are no files. Init doesn't work. So what is the deal? When we click save, it goes through our tool system, which I thought was here. I guess it's not. Oh yeah, here it goes. Select tool. I actually wonder. Yeah, that's in our UI. Just make sure that there's nothing in our UI that would not work. Tools. That's just where our tools are located. Oh, no. Okay, yeah, so select tool. Nothing interesting is happening there. Sorry, it is the winter season. Okay, so it's not in select tool. We go here. This is what it is. If self.map.mapName okay, if self.map.mapName clear file pop-up. Oh, interesting. Is there a reason we do not want to have the map name? So if the map does not have a map name, then you're able to, then we do a pop-up. Let me see something. Where did our, yeah, we're not, it's not saved. Let's go take a look at that. Let's try messing with our init file, getting rid of map name. Oh, that's going the wrong way. Let's get rid of this game data. Hey, there we go. Now it saves. There was something about not having a map name. So now we can save init. Now we can go home. Here, and hey, init works. Great, perfect. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to fix. Let's, oh look, and init is now in the game's map names, which is great, because that means that we don't have to worry about it anymore. Like, so what you'd have to do is you'd have to save the init file when you first load. Now, let's do something to fix it if the init file doesn't exist. So, what that's going to do is we're going to go to bulb forest. Here's where we are going to load init somewhere. Let me try to figure out where that is. Also, we're going to take this back a little bit. Hopefully that's still very visible. Let's get past this. There's where we load the init in the build map. Game map file name. Here we go. Map file name init goes to scene. Okay, so this is just going to go through the normal forest build situation. So, load map from data, saving container, load file. Okay, if loaded failure. Oh, that's interesting. It should have told us that there was a failure. Let's refresh this, go home. Here, click. Oh, no, that's not what we want. Okay, let me close this. As a note, I will go back and restore my old files because I actually wanted all the different directions. Our init file actually has locations that you can go to that don't exist, which fortunately, oh, never mind. I was gonna say, which fortunately I guess it's fine with, but no, it breaks when it tries to go somewhere and that map doesn't exist. Okay, so we want to do that and refresh. Okay, home. Here. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Okay, so failed to load data from init. That's great. But then it continues to go on and try to build stuff. So what we want to do is, oop. We're going to hit return here. And we're just going to put now, this is what I'm going to do for right now. Later, we're going to make this actually work. I'm not doing this just yet because in the actual game, there should be no need for, these build files. These build files are just to allow us to create maps that we want to create. Oop, let me go here. No, I'm just clicking the wrong buttons all over the place. So anyway, we should be able to just create a map here and then save them out. And then when we actually play the real game, you should never hit this. You should never hit a situation where it's trying to load a map that doesn't exist. So we'll take care of that later when that's an issue. For now, I just want it to stop here so that if we went and tried to play, it would be very clear what was going on. Ooh. Oh yeah, you can't click on the thing. That's fine. We have our error here. Have you saved your init file? Okay, so yeah, if you are loading this from code, and I'm going to go on GitHub and make a little note. Actually, I guess I'll just put it in the README here. Do we have a README? Yes. You can watch it. Okay, great. Oh, I don't remember. There's like some cool syntax and stuff. So actually, let me go like this. We're gonna not do that just yet. I think from GitHub, I can go, there's some kind of like fancier means of altering this README, maybe. I thought there was a cool way to do it. Oh yeah, if I go to README, where'd it go? It's not even shown in the, there it is. There we go. Edit this file. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so we're going to tell them that currently the game opens on the map builder. You must save a map with the name init in order for the game to run. Do that first. Great. There you go. With the starter instructions. All right, we're gonna go commit that. Now we're gonna go to GitHub. And we're gonna pull down that change so that we have it here locally. If you haven't used Git, here's a really quick, simple primer. Great. Got it. Okay, so there's that. Now we have it here. Yeah, it's not really a primer at all. You have to go understand Git. But hey, if you really want to understand Git and you want me to make a video about it, please let me know. Anyway, so now we've got that working. We have our basic init map, and it doesn't blow up when you initially start it. You just have to save a map as init. And once you go in here and you hit save, init, and you can go home, go out to the garden, go out to the forest, and hey, our forest is working. Of course, you can click around, but you can't click on these because it'll blow up there. But that's fine. We're gonna leave that as an exercise for the viewer. Eventually, we are gonna have to figure out a place to put instructions on how to use our builder, but we're not going to worry about that now. We might do some like nice little instructions button here. Okay, cool. So we have got our process. Now, like I said, I want to go back and get my data as it was. And the nice thing is you can just take this stuff here and copy it over all this. Replace it all. This is our temp file, which we can move to trash. The temp file is automatically created. That's our allows us to play the map when we haven't saved it, if you recall. Which, as a note, if you're building this and you play a map, so let's see, we're gonna go ahead and refresh. Now, if we go and play this map, you know, we can go to the different locations and stuff. But if you say play a map and you never saved it, one of the nice things is that it is there in the temp file. So you can actually go take the temp file, change its name, go add the new name to this game data file, and hey, there you go. You're able to use it again. So that should be good. So the next thing that we want to do is images, maybe, I think. Trying to remember where exactly we left off and what we wanted to do. So we've got playing. Actually, let's go out this way. So you can go to the home, you can go to the garden, you can plant stuff, you can come here, you can walk around. As I talked about, eventually we want to make it so that this is procedurally generated. Another thing that I wanted to do is that if an enemy basically attacks you or comes in contact with you, it's going to send you back to the house, which is part of the gameplay. It's going to send you back here. So that's one thing. Put a bunch of blueberries down. And then we also have the graphics for these that we want to change. So actually, I think what we're going to do is we are going to start setting up the states of these plants. So as you can see, they start in, there's ground state, then I put these out. There's no states until they hit the harvest state. And then they say harvest, and then I can go and shovel them all, right? Let's go through and do some basic graphic stuff. It's just going to be temporary until we actually get, further along. But yeah, maybe this is a good place to just start on that stuff. So as I mentioned, I made some graphics. This is stuff that I just threw together in Photoshop, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. When we go through this later, I'm going to show you how to make a proper sprite sheet. Now, what is a sprite sheet? A sprite sheet is an image where you have one image, and on that image you have all the different frames of your sprite. So let's go look at this. We're going to say sprite sheet. If you go Google, you can often find sprite sheets that people have made or ones that are from old games. And as you can see, here's all the frames of an animation broken out into a simple file. So that's what we've done here. Now, what you really want is, there's a lot to this to make it actually effective. One of the things is that you want the size of this to be a multiple of 2. So we just went 2, 4, 8, 16, etc., but what you actually want is one of these massive multiples of 2. I wonder if there's an image. Or not, I guess not multiples of 2. What is it? What is the word? Oh, powers of 2. That's what I was looking for. Not multiples of 2. Multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Powers of 2 are 2 to the 1, which is 2, 2 to the 2, which is 4, 2 to the 3rd, which is 8, 2 to the 4th, which is 16, which, if you know how these work, it's just you multiply the previous number by 2, and you take it, that's to the 9th, to the 10th. So what you're going to want is something like 1024 by 1024 or 2048 by 2048. That has to do, I believe, with compression and the way that these files are written and read as data. But anyway, yeah, so you want to make it a power of 2. Then what we really want is these need to be all in like a nice pattern. Here they're just kind of like thrown about, and that's kind of problematic. So when I go through this later and we make a big sprite sheet, like a real kind of sprite sheet, I will show you how to make it so that you use a pattern for all of them. So you kind of like maximize your efficiency. Because like in this case, these are all just square grid spaces, right? So ideally they would be like here's the first one, then the second one, then the third one, and so on and so on. And then we would save a bunch of space, and it would make it simpler. But right now, we're going to do it the slightly harder way. So let me open this folder, and let me bring over our image. So you, of course, will have to make your own image. Why? There we go. Nope. Computer's being a little slow. I want to make sure I'm copying it, not just moving it. Anyway, so you're going to have to make your own image and throw it in here. In this case, you can actually use this image, my basic test image. Then what you're going to have to do is make a sprite sheet. So the way I do it is just like this init file, where all I did was I didn't want to have this init file, this basic like map, all this huge line of stuff in, you know, just any old file. So what I did is I just threw it in this file, set it to a variable, and then put it here. Now this is going to be a global variable, so anywhere that we're at, basic init data equals this, and if we override it, we're going to screw things up. So I say that because we're about to make a sprite sheet, and we're going to do. I'm going to save this as forest sprite sheet. When we make these names, we want them to be unique. Actually, you know what? We're going to rename this, and we're going to call it sprite sheet forest. And that way all of our sprite sheets will be right next to each other down here. Now, so I just bring this up though, that like when we throw things in variables here, you want to make sure that if you're going to do a global variable, that it's unique and it's not something that you're going to accidentally screw up later. So that's just to warn you before we go and make this sprite sheet. So now let's go look at Corona SDK sprite sheet. There is a nice they call it an image sheet, maybe. Where do we go? There's an example somewhere. Here we go. Okay, they call it an image sheet, which kind of makes sense. So what happens is, this is how you make a new image sheet. You have a file, you have the directory that it's in, because there's a few different directories. As you can see here, there's a place here where they explain it, but there's a resources directory, documents, temporary, and caches. This is a bit deeper into Corona. We're not going to worry about that right now. I'll tell you which one to use for where we've saved this, and then we'll worry about the others as needed. Now, when you the last parameter is options. Options is basically the data that tells you how to interpret the sprite sheet. Now there's some programs, like I believe Photoshop and Flash have nice tools that allow you to generate these options, or something similar that you can easily convert into something that Corona can read. But for now, we're going to do it manually. And here's where things come in. So you're going to need the sheet's content width and height. So this actually, you can actually cut out a portion of the sprite sheet. So it doesn't even take the entire sprite sheet in, which is nice. Oh, that's right. This is for the original. Okay, yeah. So this is for the size of the content. When you're scaling, we're actually going to do scaling later, and what that does is Corona will scale graphics for like iPad and Retina. Yeah, see, so there's something here where it's like you have a sheet of 1000 by 1000 for the regular iPad, and you set these values to 1000. And then your Retina, you actually have a file that's 2000 by 2000. So what happens is you have two files, one is 1000 by 1000, one that's 2000 by 2000. This knows that all these measurements are done in relation to the normal 1 times iPad size. The 2 times iPad Retina size will just be scaled to match. Or all these values will be scaled to match. So this should be the width and height of the entire, or actually this is frame width and height and then number of frames. Now this is what I was talking about. If you want to make things nice and neat, and we had very simple tiles that were all the same size and all right at the start. They were like 50 by 50, and then 50 by 50, 50 by 50, etc., etc. That would make writing our sprite sheet really, really simple, because if you look at the syntax, it's built for that. You just say, hey, here's the height, here's the width, here's the number of frames, and it's just going to go get all these things and go, okay, frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, frame 4, all the way down. Ours is not like that, which means we need a complex one. Now, the way the complex one works is you have to define each individual frame. Now, normally, I would make you sit through this while I do it manually, because I want you to have the entire experience of being a game developer and making a game, and knowing that sometimes it sucks, because a lot of videos and things kind of cut that out. But this time, I've actually done that beforehand, so I'm going to show you how I did it, and then we're just going to use this thing. So we have to have an options. Again, you want a better name than like this one, which is just options GS for graphic sheet. And then here's our manual frames. Now we have 6 frames, and if we look at our image, those are this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These other ones are not, they're just to help me size it. Now, the way that you get the location is, I'm trying to remember. So I opened this up in a different program that was actually showing the white background and showing this at like a proper size. But if you are in that kind of, actually, here we go. Yeah, this does show it. So you can't see it, but here's where the edge of the actual image is. This, from this point here to the left, this is all basically letterboxing. And there's a similar thing on the right side. As you can see, here's where the line is. I guess I should just do that. Now you can see from this dotted line to the side, that's not actually part of the image. So if you're doing this on a Mac, you can just open your PNG. You can go here, drag this out, and say, okay, 95 by 110. Hopefully you can see that, it's a little small, but when I drag this out, it says 98 by 110, and I can drag it over here to see what the width of this is. Oh, it's 105 by 105. So if you go look at this, I made these 104, 104, but this is basically, I massage these numbers a little bit, but hey, look, it's like your 98 by 110. And then I went and did that for every single one of these. So you go here, their sizes should always be the same. They were always like 105, or I made them 104 by 104. It's just a little bit harder to do with these because they don't have the definitive border. But anyway, then we start from the top corner here, drag out. Hey, this is 691 by 115. That's pretty close here. What I did is, after you actually load it in the game, you can go through and massage these numbers and make sure that they are correct. So that's how I did it. That's how I went through and got all of these numbers. So here's all of our individual frames. And because I hate spaces, I'm going to fix that while we're looking at this. Well, first I'm going to take this, copy it over to our image sheet, paste, Now I'm just going to correct the tabs here real quick. Okay, I think that is good. Now let's hope that when I go and put in new tabs, they are tabbed and not spaces. Oh no, it's using spaces. I hate that. Let's just get rid of everything in here. Close it. Go back here. Hopefully this file. Hey, there we go. Now it's using tabs. Okay, so we're gonna tab indent all these. Oh, and I've just been copying and pasting junk. We're gonna take out these comments that are not really useful to us. But as you can see, we had to define the height, width, and location of every single frame. And oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, that goes to there. This goes here. Interesting. Normally you'd want your height and width to be the same. I don't know why I don't have that on this. That's probably just because I was testing it. Okay, so anyway, this is going to be our let's go sprite sheet forest options. Actually, we're gonna go sprite sheet options forest. Okay, so this is our entire frame. So as you can see, it's pretty simple frames, and then we've defined each one. Here's frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. And we have our optional height and width, and now we have our image sheet. This, of course, we're going to call sprite sheet forest. So remember, try to pick a unique name because these are going to be accessible everywhere. Here we just do graphics, new image sheet, assets. That's the folder. I put all mine in a nice assets folder, and actually I'll be organizing a lot more of these into assets folders. All these icons you can't put in a folder because of the requirements for how iOS is built. I'm actually surprised that Corona doesn't do something to compile them into a like from a folder back into this default location. That would be a nice thing, but as far as I know, they don't do that. So you know, those we can't do anything with, but these other things, like there's a logo here. This is from the base file, these button things. We're actually going to get rid of those, but everything else is going to be in assets, and you can actually organize your code as well. I have a habit of, because Corona games, you know, they tend to be simpler. I'm not doing a massive game. I tend to just keep this very flat. Oh, and the other thing is that I'm using Sublime, and when I want to look for files, I do Command P. P as in purple, and you just look for whatever file name that you want. So since I know this entire directory, I just sort it like that. You'd probably be better served by actually making folders and referencing them like this. So anyway, we have this garden test. That's our image. We're actually not even putting a directory type here. And that's because the default directory is our game code directory. So we don't have to worry about that. And then we just need the graphic sheet options, which we've changed the name of the graphic sheet options. And there we go. Oh, okay. So now we have a graphic sheet. We can save that. Oh, no. Well, actually, we'll just save over the other file. Where is it? Sprite sheet forest. There we go. Great. So now we have our forest. Now we have to actually go use it in the game. So, I believe I've already done this, so I'm just opening this so that I can remember all the things that I had to do to make this work. It's not a whole lot. Most of it is going to be in the tile. For right now, at least. Like we're eventually going to make this more complex with the intent of making it, you know, make more sense and function the way that we want it to. But for right now, we are going to keep it very simple. Sorry. I'm just trying to navigate to a directory that is not letting me navigate to it. Pro tip, never use spaces in your directory names ever. Just ever. Don't do it. It's the worst. Okay, cool. So I just wanted to take a look at this. So, of course, like I said, we've got it now, and it's got access to this sprite sheet that we've made, but we're not using it. So let's go use it. And the first place, and right now, only place that we need to mess with it is our forest tile. I'm gonna close all the rest of this stuff so we can focus our attention here. Okay, so in our forest tile, currently we set their fill color. And we're actually, our display object is just a new rectangle. That is not what we want to do anymore, at least not for certain tiles. So what we're going to start with is we are going to say, let's do this. If tile info, now let me go see bulb builder settings. Let's move this over here. So if we go look at our tile info, let's look at tile name dirt. So let's say if tile name equals dirt, we are going to do something a little bit different. Otherwise, oop. Again, sorry, I use a lot of different languages. If then, let me do that, else, we are going to do this. And we're going to take local tile view and we're going to define it out here so we can use it in both places. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so in this case, if it's dirt, we're going to try to use our dirt file. Whoops. I think the stream, hopefully that's still working. Twitch might be trying to load an advertisement on me. Anyway, so in this case, we're going to actually do an image. So we do new image, and I wonder if this code here, if they show you an example. I just want to be able to show you the actual code. So again, like if you have problems, the Corona SDK API library is where you want to go find out how to use this stuff. And let's see, there's new image. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. So you can have an optional parent, you have an image sheet, and then you have the frame that you want it to use. So in our case, we're going to have a new image that is from our sprite sheet. So now let's go look at our sprite sheet. Its name is sprite sheet forest. So we're going to take that variable. We're going to go here. we're gonna paste that. And now we want the frame number of the ground. So the first frame has ground on it, and Lua is 1 based, so the first frame is 1. So we're gonna go ahead and put that there. And that's all we really need, except we have to set the size in this case. Because as you can see, a rectangle is actually going to have this defined size. With an image, it does not do the same. So we're actually just going to go define it down here. There we go, and I think that's all we need to do. Oh, not quite. We do have to have access to that, so we need to require our sprite sheet forest in order to be able to use it. Let's go ahead and save that guy. Hey, look, now all of our dirt is that dirt tile. Except for that one. Oh, that's right. That is actually like an enemy, is this one right here. Okay, cool. So now we have that, and you can run around on dirt. What's funny is I did this in forest tile, and we actually don't want to do it in the forest. We want to do it in the farm. So let me grab this stuff. We will be eventually changing the forest as well to look like this. But for right now, I actually just wanted to do the garden, or farm, as we're calling it here. Oh wait, let me look at this. These lines are exactly the same, so I can just get rid of that sprite sheet, and then we just need to take over the size here. And put down the size, there we go. This is just to say that, like, we're gonna replace this later. This is actually, so what we want here is we want to eventually change from these tile names to the actual tiles on our sprite sheet. What we'll probably do is we'll probably either use their ID, or we'll make another value here that is, instead of, you know, all of these have a color on them, instead of having a color, we'll have the frame number that corresponds to that tile. But for now, I just want to show you, like, hey, we're going to use dirt. So now if we go to the farm, oh, haha, did it again. Gotta remember to include your sprite sheet. There you go. Okay, now if we go to the farm, that's weird. 21, a nil value. Oh, interesting. The farm tiles do not have a tile info. How did we get their color? Oh, I guess there's... we don't have to worry about this. They're all dirt. So we can just get rid of that. This here, save. Oh, let's go take a look at it. Hey, there we go. There's all of our dirt. Let's go plant some strawberries on it. Some peas. That's interesting too. It looks like we are using alpha. Ooh, I'm trying to remember what we did for the color for this, because I'm noticing that, so if you look at these, like, you have to, you know, look pretty close. You can see that the colors are appearing as almost like highlights over the brown. My guess is that that layer has alpha on it, but I don't know why we did that. We don't call it, we call it game. Would be nice if it was called farm. Okay, and we're planting. Oh yeah, it's gonna be in our map. So let's go bulb map. This is our original map. We have a layer 2, which I'm guessing where all the farm stuff gets placed. Plant. No, these are on layer 1. Ah, interesting. So what might be going on is that we are not accurately getting rid of tiles. Okay, so we remove self, bulb game. Remove self. Ah, do we not set? Oh, I have an idea. Let's go see something. Remove self, self.tileview. Did we screw that up somewhere? Let's go see what it was before. No, there's local tile view, and we set self.tileview to tile view. That's correct. Trying to see if I accidentally deleted something. Oh, I see. When we were in the state growing, all we did was set fill color. We didn't actually change the thing that it was. So we're actually gonna go back. Let's throw this thing on here. Let's do this. So if self.state does not equal growing, then we're going to use the ground. Otherwise, we're going to use this base tile, which we're going to change the color of. So let's go home, let's go to the garden. Let's plant some avocados. Nope, that did not work. State does not equal growing. Oh, this sets its if type. Oh, I guess if it just does not have a type. So we're gonna go not type. Okay, let's go do that. Okay, there we go. Now it's doing. And the reason for that is that, like, you can take this image that's of the ground and you can set its fill color. And that will just basically apply a color to it. But that is not incredibly useful when our tile is already colored brown, like you just can't see the changes. So anyway, so instead, if that's the case, we're gonna make this other graphic. Now what I want to introduce is the stages of growth. So we want to do that. Now, different things are going to have a different harvest counter. Currently, we've just set it to 100. So, based on type, so let's go take a look at what type is in our game. Plant, planting. Let's look at the map. Type comes from type. Go back to plant, select plant. Where's planting? Planting. Plant. And it's selected plant.tile name. Now that is not what we want. What we want is actually to pass the entire selected plant to our map. And then we're going to take that plant info, we're going to pass it along here, and then we are going to go into our farm. We're going to make this a plant info, and this is going to be plant info.type. Now I believe those things actually come from bulb game settings. Here's our types of plants. This Oh yeah, this is going to be a little different. So this is forest tiles, which can potentially have seeds of these different types, but these are the things that we plant. So those are actually different. Here's the various types. I have a tile name, etc. They have a cost, a color. So let's go and add a new value here. I'm gonna go along here. If you hold the command key in Sublime, you can drop multiple cursors, and you're gonna see why this is cool in a second. So I put all these cursors in here, and now I just put harvest time equals 100. There we go. I think that's probably good. Now let's go through here and say 50, 30, 200, 150, 120, or 30, whatever, 80. Cool. Okay, so now we have a bunch of different harvest times. So we're going to want to do that. So once you plant them, of course, harvest counter, yeah, harvest counter, here we go. So this is going to equal plant info dot harvest time. There we go. Okay. So that gives us our harvest times. And now we're gonna assume, so let's go look at this garden. So what I did is, let's go look at this image real quick. So this is dirt that's been planted. This is basically sprouting bush. This is a kind of growing bush. This is a like full grown bush, and then this is like a flowering bush or whatever that has the fruit. If I actually knew anything about plants, I could tell you the actual stages of these. But if you look at this, what I've got here is these 3 stages, and then the 4th stage is complete. Yeah, so this is basic dirt. This is whenever you plant something, I think, is what we, well, I don't know. I don't know yet whether or not I want like a dirt and then planted dirt, or like if this is dirt and this is planted dirt, where like it looks like they're already sprouting, because that doesn't make much sense. But anyway, we'll assume that this is the way it is. But these 3 are this stage 1, 2, and 3, and then this is the 4th stage for strawberries. This is the 4th stage for blueberries. So they're going to reuse these first 3 stages, and then they're going to use these. So what we want to do is actually, we're going to make this, which is going to be plant images. And what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to make these simple ways that we can reference the different stages of the plant, so that as it grows, so that for each of these down here, we can set the exact like 4 stages, and we can reference the names so that if we change them, it's very simple to update. I need to plug in a computer, as is the case usually at this point in the broadcast, because I always forget to plug things in before I start. So, sorry about that. And we've actually only got probably 15 minutes left, so we're gonna do this plant images thing later. Instead, for right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go here, and in addition we're gonna hit full harvest time. We're gonna go here, and we're gonna put full harvest time. Actually, let me go back. Let's not do that. What I want to do instead is I want to have, we're gonna put plant info. And we're just gonna do this. Self.plant info equals plant info. Now we're gonna look for type. I'm gonna get rid of this. Put plant info dot type. Hopefully we're not using this anywhere outside of this file. That would make things very, very annoying. Let's just make this type. Awesome. Change these over. See if there's anywhere else that we're using it. Okay, cool. So let's save that guy. So let's go play this, make sure that it's working. Of course it's not. Line 19. I think that we need to do this because we were relying on plant not just being null if there was no plant type, which was fine before, but right now we're trying to get plant info's type, and if plant info is null, then it's not going to work. It's going to break. So I think that is what we're going to want. Bulb farm tile equals expected near. Oh, yeah, duh. Plant info equals. Great. Okay, plant info nil value, line 25. Ah, of course. And not plant info type. Can't use plant info if it doesn't exist. Okay, there we go. We have a garden. Oh, that's interesting. Totally broke everything. Okay, if plant info type. Harvest time. So it's gonna be here. So why if plant info? Interesting. So where do we screw this up? This is plant info. Just plant info. Let's go create. See what the other versions are. This builds it from a file, which is, well, this builds the initial one, which is fine, which has nothing in it. This one too. And we just have our navigation tiles in this, which is great. Let's go here. Selected plant. I mean, it looks like it should be fine to me. What, pray tell, am I missing? Plant info. Plant info is nil. Oh. Yeah, in this case, we just want to say if plant info doesn't exist, we want to use the ground. Okay, so that's a starter. Now, the question is, why don't those get put down? Let's go. So, plant info is a table, which means we should have done this, of course. So let's see what happens here. Actually, you know what? Let's swap these real quick. Let's do plant info. Put that guy there. This one down here. Move this back up. Not dirt. It may be that doing not nil doesn't work the way I would expect it to be. Yep, make all the dirt. Great. Let's put down strawberries. Nope, it's a table. So why is it putting down dirt? Interesting. Oh, this is going to be not equal to nil. Okay, home, garden, great. Still not working. It's a table. Table is definitely not nil. So, what exactly am I missing here? But it's not just that it's not nil. It's not evaluating this here. Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna do a few things to test this. We're gonna put not equal to nil. And we're gonna try this. Plant info not equal to nil. Info.type. Okay. Maybe this will give us some insight. Let's find out. Okay, so we'll wait till that finishes so we can see what's going on. Okay, so as you can see, ooh, I should start doing this from now on. This is nice and bigger. Okay, so it's always nil, false, nil, false. Great. Now, if I take strawberries, I put down strawberry. This is a table. Not equal to nil is true. Now, that's interesting. Plant info dot type. Okay, so let's go back here. Oh, this was using tile name, not type. That's our problem. These need to be tile name. Now, still, what I don't get is that if it's plant info not equal to nil is true in this case, then why is it getting dirt? Oh. Oh, we're reusing the name plant info. Oh no, this is not plant info. This should be plant. Oh, plant equals that. That is why it's breaking. Okay, so we can actually get rid of this, I think, and we can go back and do this. If it's got plant info, that's great. Okay, I think that's right. Oh, yes. Wherever we were using type, this needs to be tile name. Okay, that's the only place we're using it. Great. Perfect. Okay, home, garden, strawberries. Okay, now we're back to somewhere. Great. Okay, so let's quickly get these states knocked out. State dirt. State growing. Okay. So when we update, we're going to want to go through our different states. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, for right now, we're going to do this like a simple way. Because I just don't think that these are going to get that complicated, and that there's any reason to make their growing state. Growing state is just the image of what they are. And I don't think that that matters right now. So, ooh, this is going to get interesting, because we are going to have to replace the view. Yeah, we've got this little harvest counter. I don't think we're gonna need the harvest counter anymore. We are just going to need this here. So first we're gonna do this. We're gonna go here. And if they are a plant, we're going to use 2, which is our little sprouting guy. We're actually not even going to use any of this other than to set the state to growing. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge for right now of like not quite finished code, but that's okay. We'll go back and do that on the next stream. So its growing state is 0. We're going to subtract the harvest counter. Does the harvest counter count up or count down? I've probably broken this, so we're not even going to be able to see. Crap. Okay. Well, no, yeah, the harvest counter counts down. So we can get rid of this because we're not updating the harvest counter text. Instead, we're updating the image, which means let's do this. Image. Yeah, I think what we're eventually going to do is move everything into this update image. And that's going to basically say like, hey, what is, oh, you know what? Yeah, we're just going to do that. That's great. And we're going to make this, you know, eventually more robust. So, state equals growing. Then equals harvestable. Now what we're going to do is if it's growing, it's going to look like this. We have to remove the current tile view. Now we're gonna have to go back and make this actually, you know, more robust, like I said, so that when we run this, we're not actually replacing the image every time, because if it's growing already and it hasn't changed, we don't want to update the tile view. But for right now, we're going to do it every single time, just so that we can finish it. So for the harvest, we're going to use 5. They're all going to look like strawberries when they're harvestable. Okay, so now what we're going to do, and actually, we're going to get rid of growing state right now for the moment. Okay, if self dot harvest counter is less than math dot floor self dot what is this, plant info dot, what is it, harvest time? Ooh, we want this here. We're gonna need that. Harvest counter, harvest time, okay. Less than plant info dot harvest time divided by 4. And then now we're gonna just go 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I think this is all we need. Else and move this up, tab. Okay, so this is what we're doing is, if you're growing, and oh yeah, we need an else here. Okay, so the timer counts down. So if it is less than 1/4, see, 1/2, less than 3/4. Okay, so if it's less than 1/4, then we want to show frame 4. No, let's go see. What is this? Our garden test. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if it is, if your timer is full, we want to show, oh, actually, sorry. These are our graphics, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if our timer is full, or in the top quarter, we want to show number 2. If it's under 3/4, we want to show 3. If it's under half, we want to show 4. And if it is under 1/4, we want to, actually not under 1/4. That's what we want. Okay, so we want to split this into thirds, because at the harvest state is when we want to show 5. So we're only going to have 4, 3, and 2. So we're actually going to get rid of this. And so if it's under 1/3, we want it to be there. If it's under 2/3, we want it to be there. And if it's over that, then it's going to be this too. Great. I think that will work. Let's go find out. Oh, everything blew up. Update image, line 79. Self, update image. What? Oh. This is why it's good to copy and paste the names, so that you make sure that they're correct. Beats. And I have no idea what's going on. Okay, so let's start from the top here. It's got plant info. Should be sprite sheet. Okay, let's do this real quick. I'm gonna put 2 here, just to make sure our sprite sheet is working correctly. Let's go look at this and see all of our dirt should be that. That's great. do 4. Okay, great. I'm going to assume that's correct. Okay, so that's 1. This is 2. Remove self, self nil. Oh, okay. Yes, here we go. We need to do all these things. So let's take this. And actually, we're going to go here. This is going to kill self.tileView. Actually, so what we're just going to do is go tileView, local tileView. Now we're going to go through here, delete, oop, nope, don't want to do that. Delete these selves here. So we're just going to make this tileView. I'm going to also put one here so that there's always a tile view. Should always be a tile view here. And there's going to be 1 because it's not harvestable or growing. Then we're going to set all these values. And actually, let's just do this. Let's go down here. Set all those values. Eventually, we're going to change this code up here to use the code down here, so it's all the same. But for right now, we're just going to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the old one. And we're going to go like this. Because we want to make sure it exists. Add the new image to the scene. View, great. Okay, hopefully that works because I need to go. Nope. Group is a nil value. We actually need. We need access to our group, which is annoying. Display. We're gonna put group equals group equals group, or whoop, equals nil. And down here, when we remove this, we're gonna want to make sure to get rid of our reference. We don't want to remove the group because that group might have other things in it, even though we're removing this tile. But we want to make sure that we're not keeping a reference to the group around. Oh, duh. And here, this needs to be self.group. Great. Let's go here. Hey, look, they're planted. Hey, look, they grew. Oh, another step. And they're fully grown. Awesome. They look like strawberries. Everything looks like strawberries. Oh, look how fast the strawberries grow. All these things have different speeds now, which is kind of cool. You can watch them grow slowly or quickly. So there you go. There's like the basis of our stuff. Oh yeah, and now that they're full grown, we can go through and harvest. Oh no, what happened? Let's fix that real quick. Bulb player 150. Line 150. I bet we're relying on the plant's type, which it no longer has. Here we go, type. Okay, so we need to go look at harvesting and figure out what happened there. Let's go harvest. Can harvest, harvest, self.layers, plant type equals. I think that we just want this to be plant info dot tile name. And let's go put some stuff down. I should have picked something that goes faster, like a strawberry. Okay. Hey, look, now we can do, okay, now, yep, these are our beets, and these are our strawberries. Great, okay, cool. So there you have it. We've got basic different image states. In our following streams, we're going to go through and make those end images different depending on what kind of fruit you're growing. And then we're also going to clean up how these images are handled, because we, like I said, we don't want to remake the image on every single update. We only want to do it when the state changes. So we're going to go ahead and do that later. But that's it for today. So I hope this was helpful. Remember, like, subscribe, share, do all the social things so that this gets out there. And if you have time today, go check out the global, or this weekend, go check out the Global Game Jam. It's a fun time. See if there's a location near you where people are getting together and making games, and go try it out. All right, have a great weekend, everyone, and see you next week.